We want to welcome you guys to L3 Perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Glenn Davis. I'm sitting here with my guy, Cameron Macias.
It's your boy, Killer Cam.
What's going on, guys? We want to welcome you back to the L3 Perspective, where we talk life, love, leadership. My name is Glenn Davis. Sitting here with my guy, Cameron Macias.
Killer Cam.
Got you. And we got a special guest today. Today we're doing the live podcast.
It's our first one, so bear with us.
Yes. But no, again, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for subscribing and all that. But Cam, I'm going to toss it over to you, and we can dive into it, introduce today's guest.
Yes, sir. So as per the usual, as you guys know, like, love, share, subscribe, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. At the end of the day, we do this for you guys. We do this completely for the value that we can bring. And, if we don't know what you're digging or what you're not digging, then we can adjust as we see appropriately. But today, the man, the myth, the legend.
Something like that.
Jeremiah Ramirez. Ramirez.
Rico. We call him Rico, so, you'll refer to us, or you'll hear us talking to him or calling his name Rico. But Rico is a father, husband. He's an entrepreneur, business owner, business coach. I mean, he just has a list of things. So, Jeremiah Ramirez, welcome to the LP Perspective, brother.
Yeah,
man, it's a pleasure to be here. Obviously being someone who has been behind the scenes and can see you guys just growing this and, seeing as you move and it just continues to improve and, just super proud of you guys. And obviously it's an honor anytime I get to sit down and speak with you guys. So thank you.
Number one in your hearts, ladies and gentlemen.
In my heart, right? No, for sure.
So this is our first in-person guest. I'm not gonna lie, I dropped it on these guys. I brought the media kit. Some of you that follow me on social media, I packed it. Nobody knows what's gonna happen. But the reason why I felt it was really important for not only for you to be our first guest, but was one, the opportunity. You live close to us. You're I would say one of our best friends. And then two, just your value story, the relationship that we all have, because it's not just business. Like, you got your business partners and things like that. But I feel like when you truly have a team that you surround yourself with, it is so much more than just are we making money together, but it's are we supporting each other? Even before this, we did the podcast, we're talking about our families and things like that. We came here to discuss business. We spent the first part of the morning talking all family, 100%. How we're doing, all those types of things. And I think that's important for people to kind of make that distinction. You see all those memes online where it's if you ain't making money with me, then we ain't doing nothing together. Don't get me wrong. I'm cool with people wanting to better themselves and all that, but let's understand people are people. And so today I wanted to talk about because the last one we talked about was all about the seasons when people are exiting your life, right? Hey, people are here for a certain season, they exit. Now I'd like to move that conversation into, okay, the people that leave your life for a season, what about people that come in for a lifetime or for you to meet goals that you have intent for? And the universe, in my opinion, is placing them into your life with one of two options. Either you take advantage of that person being in your life, or you don't. It's almost like a test, right? Hey, I'm gonna place this person in your life for you to meet the goals that you said you want to meet. Let's see if you actually want to meet that goal.
For sure.
So yeah, so I'll kick it to y'all.
No, man, I like that. I think it's a dope conversation to have.
Yeah.
Like you said, we talked about kind of the seasons. I find it to be very, very important. And particularly this, again, I keep talking about this particular season of my life because I'm learning so many lessons.
Yeah.
But that accountability piece.
Facts.
Is important, man. And I'm super grateful for my accountability circle.
Yeah.
Because while I have those days when I'm human and I'm I may not be wanting to push a little bit harder, I could just have a quick 5-10 minute conversation, organically.
Yeah.
And then, that the wheels are back moving. So
yeah.
But before we dive into that, I want to open it up with something else.
Okay.
And transition to that. So I normally ask our guests at the very end a particular question Obviously, this is the L3 perspective. There's so much that goes into it. Life, love, leadership. So those three words, right? If you could pick one of those words that stands out to you, if you could share something to our listeners from your heart, life, love, or leadership.
Put me on the spot, but I'll say leadership. So many people, in so many cases, misconstrue management with being a leader, right? Management with leadership.
Yeah.
Managing a situation or managing a people, and you get that confused with leadership. Leadership itself is what? It's saying not, hey, you go do this, but it's saying, let's go do this. Me, you, and whoever else, let me show you how to do this. If you don't know, let me provide you with the knowledge and the guidance to do so. And so I think in so many cases, a lot of people misconstrue leadership. And I think a lot of people are out, and even within their own lives, they're not leading themselves to being successful in life. They're managing their life. What does that mean? That means I just compartmentalize various different things, and I'm just keeping those things inside of those crates and categories, and I'm never actually getting a full healing holistically in my life, and I'm not leading myself to being successful. So when I think about leadership, it starts with yourself, right? It starts with the discipline and the habits that you have for yourself to be successful personally, right? A healthy mind, a healthy body, healthy spiritually, right? And within your family. Then it goes exterior to that, right? And it says, okay, I'm going to be a leader of someone that's going to show other people how to be successful in their lives. And so that's how my whole thing, or if I'm thinking about my thoughts for those three categories, leadership is huge for me because it's in everything that you do. Right. It's not something you can turn on or off. You always got to have integrity. You always have to be a person that's leading from the front. You always have to be a person that's responsible. So that's leadership.
Okay. Cool.
I'm all about that. I agree. As far as like the leading yourself, because I know, and I've talked about it before, is like I was at a bad point in my life, and it's because I wasn't leading myself appropriately. Like I was accepting behaviors that didn't in line with who I was. I was not just from other people, but myself. I was allowing things to unfold the way they shouldn't unfold. Not speaking up, when I should have. Yeah. And so, and only when I took that accountability, like, you know what? Nah, bruh. Yeah. To the point where people thought like I had this like whole giant plan. Like I remember when things turned around from my mom asked me, she's like, "Do you plan all this?" And I said, "Nah, I honestly I just started leading myself better, like living in my truth."
And it isn't amazing when you started doing that, how it seems like the universe had synchronicity.
Facts.
And everything started, right? Because it was just waiting on you to lead yourself.
Facts.
Yeah, I think even with that, when you talk about like leading yourself, tying it into, people coming into your life, when you start leading yourself a certain way, you attract who you are.
Facts.
Right. And so those people come into your life, and like we talked about last episode, some are in your life for that season, some and for your lifetime. But what do you do, and how do you accept those individuals that are in your life in that particular season, right? What appreciation do you have for that? What gratitude do you have for that, or for them? And that's important. For me, that's super important, right? Like right now, just having individuals in my circle who have, they can reach their hand out to support me, where in the past I may have not reached back as far as to lock arms. Just like, oh no, we're good. But yeah, man, that's when you talk about leading yourself, and again, attracting the people into your lives based off of that particular season that you're in.
Yeah. And so when you're looking at like, as those times are evolving and people are entering your life, right? How do you recognize if they're there for good or bad?
I think that you have to have some type of standards. So those very same standards that you set for yourself, right? To say, hey, I'm leading myself, and these are the things that I'm not going to negotiate on. Yeah. You have to maintain those things with other people. A lot of times that's very difficult, right? Because why? Because they're not you. And so you give leeway and leverage to people because you say, well, I'm really hard on myself. I can't be that hard on other people. But still, there has to be some non-negotiables, right? And you have to uphold those standards. And so if those people that come into your life, if they're not meeting those standards, then, I mean, it's up to you to accept or to state what you accept and then negate or kick out what you don't want, right? Yeah. And so that's how I look at it. Anytime someone that comes into a relationship or I meet someone new, I honestly just assess that person. I say, okay, what are they here for, right? What is the basis of their beliefs? And I have a thing that I do even in business, and I say I do this probably in life, period, and it's, vision and value, right? And so what is that person's vision?
Yeah.
How does it align with my vision of my life, business, or anything, whatever they're going to be correlating to? And then what is their values? Like what core values do they have? What is their principles, right? What's their moral character? And so if both those things are aligned, I can say, hey, maybe I don't know exactly why they're here right now.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm going to maintain communication and maintain building that relationship with them because our vision and our values align.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the vision and values are extremely important. For me, if I ever connect with someone, I don't go into that, that meeting with them or just kind of that introduction or first time sitting with them and just like, where do I see our relationship going or being in 20 years? Like, that's not with everything. So it's going back to like, you can only control what you can control. The one thing I can't control is what our relationship looks like 20 years from now, or maybe even 20 minutes from now. So I look at that as going back to the vision and values is through those conversations, you can tell if someone has, if they're in alignment with the direction that you want to go, right? And but the piece that you can't control is how long will they be in your life, right? And so that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. Well, that was even something we talked about when we came to the podcast, remember? Like, I was like, I'm coming to your house and we're going to sit around your table and we're going to talk about what the vision is for the L3 perspective, because I want to make sure that I respect that if we're going to become involved and we're going to do this together, because it wasn't my idea. And I tell people all the time, like, this was Glenn's idea. I just, through our collaboration, it has come to life.
Sure.
But I remember I was like, send me all your notes, look all this stuff. But there's, I noticed like a lot of people don't ask that question though. Like, yo, what is like your vision? Yeah. Like I have a business meeting tomorrow with some other partners, and like that's our first discussion before we move forward. Hey, everybody come up with a mission and vision statement, and then we're all gonna talk about it, and we're gonna come up with a singular vision and mission statement that works for us. So that we can make sure we're all on the same beat. And because we're all bringing our individual ones, it also now shows what's important to each one of us. And then we can mesh it together.
I think it's amazing how even within that statement that you just said, right, you can see how you and Glenn met, right, and no happenstance, but the way that it happened, right? And so that's why your mom probably asked, did you plan all this because of the synchronicity? You guys, remember we just talked about people coming into your life and how do you recognize those people and how do you, right? And then it ties right into vision and value. You sat with him and said, we have shared vision. Our values obviously align. We have these. So what are we going to do? Because I have skill sets that are complementary to yours. You have skill sets that are complementary to mine. Glenn is a smooth talker. Glenn is a smooth criminal. People love talking to Glenn, right? And then Cam, people, not only are you funny, but you're also technically sound. So you could do all the things in the background that make it appear and make the podcast come together. And Glenn's in front of the camera and he's saying, okay, we say this is, I feel this way. Like, and so everything came together, it culminated. And so then you guys look at where you're at now.
Yeah. I'm very grateful for this comedian over here.
You need that. You need that.
You know what's interesting? Like, I've never met. So Cam is a very unique individual.
I agree.
I've never met someone who's so tech savvy, who's so likes data numbers, so organized, funny at the same time, but can switch it on and be strictly focused on the business. Yeah. He definitely has a lot of skills.
That's a blessing.
Chameleon man.
Yeah.
13 different schools growing up. I picked up a couple things.
That's what I was about to say. You growing up, that's probably, all that leads to it. That's life. Yeah. Right? We've covered 2 of the L's.
Yeah.
There we go.
And then, so love, mother's love. Yeah. She's always apologized to me for that thing, for the school. She's like, I'm really sorry about the way you grew up. And I'm like, I didn't grow up horrible. Like, you didn't beat me. Like, we always had a roof over our head. There was always food on the table. Like, I never felt unloved. Like, I think that's a big thing as I've grown up. And this is something me and Ned have talked about as far as like, I have never felt like my emotions have been stifled. And as a man, that's very important, you know, because how many, you know, masculinity, all these things. So as I grew up, I never felt that my emotions were stifled. And I think that allowed me to be like okay in my emotions, understand my emotions, control my emotions. Like as I've become older, like Mo always jokes. He's like, Cam, you're the CEO of like our lives because the situations you get in and you like keep your cool. I don't know how you do it. And I'm just like, I don't know, life, bro. But you know, that's something my mom always apologizes for. And I, as I became older, I was like, you actually, in a weird way, gave me a really good blessing because going to so many schools, it was make or break when it came to making friends. And it's like, you either adapt and overcome or realistically you're lonely. And you know, and because of the different environments I lived in, different type of people, you know, I used to listen to punk music. I used to BMX. I used to be a skateboarder, you know, at one point, and then I lived around a whole bunch of Hispanics and got really good at making Mexican food and, you know, listened to all the music. Like I've jumped from, you know, I used to be around a whole bunch of rich kids where their parents owned houses in the hills of the Bay Area. And I was just like, you have an apartment to yourself at in the 7th grade. And like me and my mom live in a 2-bedroom apartment, you know? And so, you know, I've gone to a Catholic school and then went to the hood school across the street. Yeah. Like, you know, so, you know, the blending was never as short, but, you know, and it gave me an appreciation for people.
I think one of the biggest points that you just said out of everything was not having your emotions stifled. I know talking with G and we've talked, and we share in this aspect, but, and this may be something that's super cultural, but for us, I didn't have that, right? And so there was an expectation. There was just certain things you didn't do.
Yeah, you don't cry.
You didn't, right? And just growing up, if you did that, you were lunch, basically, right? In certain situations in inner cities and things like that, if you did those type of things, you became prey. Yeah. Right. And so what you unfortunately would end up happening is not being able to fully express yourself appropriately through words, right? Or through some other venues. And so what ended up happening is you turn to violence. Facts. And so I know myself when I'm growing up, I didn't have that, right, that open space. So what do? I'll punch you in the mouth. Like if you said something, I'll just punch you. Facts. Right. And so got into a whole bunch of fights and all this stuff. And I'm just like, dang, as I got older, now I'm sitting here and I'm like, Jesus, I just had bundled up emotions that I couldn't express in the proper way. Right. And, you know, I think that that's huge. And I like that about you because there's times that I'm sitting and I'm feeling some type of way and I'll tell G, and I know because I know what he's going to tell me. We say this all the time, and I'm saying this for the podcast because this is the devil and this is the angel, right? And so on my shoulders, I have 2 friends, and one of them is the angel, and G tells me, don't do that. No, that you can't, don't do that. Think of a better way to say that. That's okay. Meanwhile, this one over here is telling me, do it.
Don't stifle your emotions.
Do it. Do it. And so I like having that mix, but also it has, in times I needed to say something and you were like, bro, nah, say that, bro. Yeah. And it was the right thing to do because I would think like, oh, let me try to hold back. And I'm not saying you told me that, but it's just that emotion, right? Not stifling. And you're like, no, bro, you need to say that because that's going to help people. And it ended up helping people. And so I say all that to say the love that you receive, like while you're growing up, your mom, it's funny, she loved you so much, she felt she did a bad job. Yeah. She was doing something good.
Yeah, it's like the parents' curse that you never did.
You never know what you did, right? You know, my mom got rich, so she's gone. But, you know, I will say I think she did the best she could with what she knew. Yeah. Right? Yeah. There's no manual to be a parent.
For real.
You know, there's no more than there is to be a leader. You recruit a whole bunch of people, right? You know, you recruited a whole bunch of people. You sat and counseled other people. There's no book on people. Right. It's the hardest thing in the world. Yeah. And so as you're sitting there and you're scaling through all of this, right? how do you love people appropriately for the way that they'll interpret it right?
Yeah. Facts. That's a hard.
That's hard, bro.
lesson. Like as an adult, it's like how do you love someone the way that they want to be loved?
The love languages.
Yeah.
Right? And you really got to, like, I've read that book 4 times. Like, you really got to study it because everybody's different. And I'm still studying. I'm horrible. Don't get me wrong. I'm still studying. Yes, as he said, I'm still studying. But I mean, you know, because you want to love people the way they want to be loved. Because you want to be loved how you want to be loved, right? And you want to have that availability to be able to express those things. And it's all a circle. Life, love, leadership. They are all so intertwined, right? In business and life, your friendship, the people that come into your life, because you still got to maintain those relationships. Even if you guys came and talked to me, and I was closed off to Glenn, I was closed off to Cam, or I could have been open to Glenn because we had history, but then he said, I got this new guy, Cam. I'm like, no new friends. I'm good on that. No, bro, you have to actually be open, and you have to be able to know how all of these things intertwine together, and how you're going to utilize that to live out a more fulfilled life.
Yeah. And you said something when you were kind of describing me and Cam on each shoulder.
Yes.
And, you know, one of the things that I know is that Cam will always be open and honest with you 100%. On one side. On the other side, I'm always going to be open and honest with you. So when it comes to
I agree.
Your circle of people in that season, why is that important, or do you think is important for people to have different people within their circle, but that can be completely open and honest with them?
I do, because I feel like a lot of times if you look at celebrities or you look at people that just have over the top yes men around them that aren't going to be honest with them, that's leading to self-destruction.
Super hard.
Right. And so there are times that you check me and I'll ask you like, hey, bro, I think we should this way. And okay, cool. And so you need that. You need people that are going to tell you, nah, I think, yeah, you're a little bit too rude, bro. You were rude, bro. You need to check yourself. No, and because I need that, right? Because I'm me. And I'm going to think the way I say things is just the way it is what it is. Deal with it. But it's not like that all the time. And so you need people that are going to be honest with you and that can kind of help you to self-reflect. Because not all the time do we self-reflect. Everyone's human. Right. And no matter, the most self-reflective person has times when they're not thinking about how they're making other people feel.
Facts.
And so I think that that's super important.
Yeah, teams are important. I think, communities, right,
100%.
are important, whether day-to-day life, whether in business. And that is why I value and invest so much into people I lead, because I understand that I can have a specific perspective on my vision, but the team is going to help me get there, right?
Yeah.
Going back to, I know I can call you and Cam at any given time just to get your thoughts, your opinion, my accountability partners, right?
Yep.
Because I know that you guys are going to be open and honest with me. And in order for me to hit the numbers that I want to hit, in order for me to hit every single goal that's written down, I need that accountability. I need that team, and be open to that team because I value that opinion and feedback.
You know what's funny? There's something that comes to mind when you say that, because getting the feedback from the team, the feedback from you and Cam that I get, and it's why it's so important. There's someone sitting at a table, and there's a cup that's on that table. Now, there's someone that just walked through the door in that same restaurant, right? And the person sitting at the table. The cup that you see, from your point of view, has no graphics and no handle, right? But there's a spot there's a coffee spot on the side of that cup. From my perspective, all I see is graphics, a handle, but no stain. Now, if you sat down and we both came together, then our perspective becomes a complete perspective, because you share what you see and I share what I see. But if we each are just content to see what we see, that cut from our perspective, right? Then that's literally what life is. That's everyone moving through life. That's why you got to have the team. The team sees things from different perspectives, and then that's when you all come together and it culminates. That's when you see the holistic view of what actually is going on, whether it be in your life, whether it be in business, love, right? Maybe love interest, all of these things, because it takes people, it takes that holistic point of view.
It's like the whole half is glass empty, half is glass full.
Right.
And it's what's the perspective of who saw the glass when it was what?
Right.
If the glass is empty and then it was filled, then it's half full. But if it was full and then there was drinking, then the perspective is now it's half empty.
100%.
That's right.
That's right. 100%.
Perspectives.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Whole nother topic.
That I was about to say we're probably just getting into a whole nother part 2, right? But yeah, no, for sure. Perspective's everything. It's yeah. But I feel that's the basis of why you always need to have a team and be open to people. You know, don't be so self-assured. Be self-aware, but don't be self-assured.
Right.
And what I mean by that is just being self-aware to understand that I'm human and I make mistakes and that I need people to check me at some time, right? And I've worked on that because I was horrible with that growing up. I was the most cockiest person in the world. Like I literally was. I mean, I just can't tell me nothing. And then you get older and you're like, okay, you were an idiot. And the older you get, the more I sit down and I'm like, oh my God, I was an idiot. Like I sit and look at myself. You know how you retrospective, right? You sit back and you look at things 10 years back and you're like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Right? Relationships lost.
No regrets.
No.
Not one?
No. I have like mounds of them.
Yeah.
Man, mounds of them. And hopefully anyone that's been honest with themselves, hopefully you have some as well. Because if you don't,
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah.
And you gotta be able, like, you just gotta be able to say you messed up in the moment. Like I was telling you earlier when we were driving, I said, hey, I think I'm gonna start doing this. And he was like, oh, you mean like we talked about? And I said, but what did I tell you? And he said, you said you're gonna try it out and try your way. And I said, and my way doesn't work. Your way works better. And I've recognized that, and so I'm letting you know that I think I'm gonna start doing this based off my test now that I have ran, right? And that's I'm cool with that.
I'm cool with
And
that.
so my level of respect for him increased because of that. Because as a man, just as an individual, like there are some people who are just stuck in their ways. Like you can give them the blueprint, but they're like, nah, I'm gonna go do this anyway. You're right. And still, again, especially being in business, you have to be okay with that. But what I value about his character is to circle back like, okay, cool. I tried my way. Let's do it this other way. And so I could rock with somebody like that.
I think I've learned from being the number 2 guy for a while, right? So I was the number 2 guy. I had to learn how to follow before I could lead.
Yeah.
So I was following people and harnessing and sharpening my skill set, right? And then one key thing that I noticed about like leadership and you moving into a space of leadership is being okay with admitting you were wrong and being open to suggestions from the beginning so you don't have to be wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Like, nothing against Cam. Cam's Cam. No, I'm saying, no. So what if you were saying, okay, I'm gonna try it my way? Because in your defense, that's worked in your life, right?
For sure.
What if you would have been open to his from the beginning? How much further would you be then? So that's what I'm saying. But it takes time for you to realize that, to come back to that. So what I've learned in leadership is through the steps and the time that I've taken is be open to your team's feedback. Be open from the beginning. Before you make major decisions, be open to them, bringing something to the table and like really look it over. Don't be just like, nah, I ain't.
Right.
Yeah.
No, like, listen, that way, what happens? We win together, we fail together. So that way, you guys, there was a buy-in. Everybody had their opinions heard. We had a little bit of mix-up. It was compromise from everybody, and we went and we moved forward, right?
Still dominate.
And we still dominate. I'm loving that. I'm loving that. And it's even better, right? Because then it wasn't all big and mighty, Rico. Then it was everyone. Yeah. And it was a group effort, and we won together as a team.
Yeah. I think funny enough is we like ran our own tests individually and then we met up and we were like, yeah, that way, like we both agree that way is not working for either of us. Yeah. This is the way forward. That's a coachable thing too. Being able to watch somebody like go through that when they don't want to listen, right?
Like, it is.
Cause that's that moment where it's like, okay, I'm gonna let you, he did that. He's like, hey, I'm gonna let you do it this way. And because realistically, if it did work, then it's like, cool, great, it works. But if it doesn't, it's like, hey,
another system in place.
It's another system. It's another option for us now, right? And so,
you're gonna have that.
I've had those moments too, right? Where I mean, we talked about it, where I'm just like, at this point, at this juncture, I just gotta let the person do them.
Yes.
And that's okay. And I've even told that person that, like, hey, you notice how I've taken a step back. Oh, I did notice that. Like, why is that? And I'm like, because you honestly weren't at a place where you were ready for the lessons I was here to give, or even just to intake some of that information.
Yeah.
And when either you will come to Jesus, or you won't.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that first and foremost, I actually never had that issue with him. But
Jesus on animal.
But that's his. But now I say that in retrospect to a person that has had 20 plus years of leadership training, who understands certain things that just anyone that you give someone, and they're not gonna just do that, right? Glenn has had years of leadership training.
Facts.
So I'll ask you guys something. When you're from the perspective of being leaders of men and other people and leading other people. What is the hardest part of leadership?
How dare you? I'm gonna let him answer first for this 20 years.
Yeah. So I think that there's many levels, but one of the things I will say is trying to, like, you see the potential in someone and trying to help them to get there, especially when they say, hey, I want to get there, but their actions don't align up with it. So the feedback you give them and the blueprint that you give them, the one thing they don't do is execute, but they constantly come back and say, I want to be better. I want to do better. Holistically, I want to impact, inspire, whatever, but the actions and the habits of those actions don't align up with where they want to go. And so having to, especially like someone like me, I like to invest in people. So to be able to, which requires time. So now you're taking that time to invest in someone who you believe in, you see the potential in, but like they say they want it, but their actions and habits don't align up with what they want. So at some point, having to make the decision of where that line is. And so, but yeah, that's probably one of the hardest things, is trying to get someone to the place that they want to get to, that they tell you they want to get to.
At least they say they do.
And they tell you they want you to be their accountability partner. So as you're coaching and leading them, there's no progress. And you're just running in circles. And so
that's rough.
I should have gone first.
What would you say? No, go ahead. Go ahead. You can expound on that.
No, so honestly, I think in today's environment, buy into the organization. Because we see so much of just do you, just get your money, don't worry about no one else. Nobody has your interest like you will for yourself.
Yep.
The day you leave, is the day they'll replace you. This, that, and third, right? And so with all those influences, it's very hard to get people to buy into the vision of the organization. Now, obviously, if the organization don't even know what their vision is, then it's going to make it even harder. 100%. But even for an organization that does have it, it's, motivating these different groups of people, different personalities, age groups. How do you get them to buy into the culture, to the vision, to the mission, and the process of how they are going to operate in that organization? Because a lot of people, everybody likes to say they can do it better. Everybody walks in and is like, I can do this 10 times better than you. Until they have the hat on and they're like, oh, wow, like I actually can't, because I didn't know you had this person says that, or you can't maneuver in that space because of this. Right. And so, getting people to buy into like where the organization is going, or the team, and even just a smaller team, right? I mean, how many times have we had to tell people some really crappy information, and we really don't even have a lot of information. We're just like, hey, by the way, this really bad thing is going to happen to you potentially. And that's all I got. Yeah. Because that's all I got,
That's all I know.
And how many people can take that kind of blunt force, like, information and still try and motivate people to keep moving.
Wow. So between not seeing the progress, right, and having the time invested for that coaching, it's a huge amount of time. Putting in the time for coaching, to the aspect of getting people to buy into an organization because everything is so self-motivated now, right? Or that's the message that we send out to people. I feel like in leadership, if we can combine, and I agree with both of you. I think that those are like probably some of the hardest things. Personally, I agree with both, but personally for myself, it's self-development. It's getting to a place where you've had success.
Yeah.
You've coached other people. They see the success. So now they buy into the system, right? You're seeing progress from them. They're actually doing well with the information or with the system that you set up for them. But it's not getting content. It's continuing to self-develop yourself. I believe that for me, that's one of the hardest things is continuing to self-develop.
Yeah.
When you've seen success, when you have money coming in, when you have, you're building that organization is somewhat built or whatever, it's continuing to be harsh on yourself and telling yourself you still need to sharpen.
Yeah.
You're not there yet.
Yeah.
Keep going. Right. And so I think that's one of the hardest things because maybe in your circle or around you, you have a level of success that's exceeded or it's whatever. Right. But to tell yourself you're not there yet. Right. To say, hey, so the guys that I'm leading or I'm coaching, they're only going to go as far as I set the bar.
Yeah.
So is this where you're setting the bar? Because they could get to you within one double. Mm-hmm. So in business, I'm always looking like I have to be at least 5 to 6 doubles in front of my next direct guy, right? My guy that's like next to me. I have to keep going. Maybe call that crazy or call it whatever it is. But it would be a disservice to your guys to not raise the bar, to continue to develop yourself, to raise that bar, because then you set a low ceiling for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to keep pushing and keep going, and so they can keep going. So, man, I think we just dropped some major gems.
Yeah. Yeah. and even with that, as we kind of gear up to wrap up, like going back to the people in your life in that season, I think that's the same thing that applies to your circle. If you're constantly raising the bar as far as what you're chasing, right? Like I feel like the same should apply for the people that are in your circle. And I think that's where some of the disconnect comes, where people are in your life and they're like, bro, you changed. You changed. It's not, yes, I did change,
I had to.
Growth. I had to, right? Because I keep elevating that bar. And so I think as you're doing the self-assessing, the self-development, the same thing as you're reevaluating or looking at your circle of people in that particular season, are the people in that season raising that bar as well? Or are you replacing, I wouldn't say replacing, but are you placing people in your circle in that season of folks who have elevated their bar?
Yeah.
So now there's a constant elevation. So that's important.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, we done dropped some gems on you. Sprinkle a little fairy dust. And usually this is when Glenn asks this question, but
yeah.
we switched it up on you guys,
Yeah. We like having a very organic conversation. That is one of the questions that we will ask because we want to give our guests the opportunity to, share that, right? That is one of the reasons why you guys tune in and you listen to us as far as life, love, leadership. It's so much that comes with that, right? And so because we are blessed to be connected with a lot of individuals who are very wise, we want to be able to have them share their perspective on the L3 perspective.
That's right. So as we wrap up, Rico, tell them where to find you, Doug.
It's pretty easy for me. You just go to anywhere you look. Actually, I just changed my name on Facebook.
I was going to say.
It did that with my official Meta,
with
whatever.
Your tick. Yeah. I was going to ask you, you got a tick now.
Yeah, I'm official. So it changed my name on Facebook, Jeremiah Ramirez. But on Instagram, it's still Rico Ramirez 86. Reach out to me. Obviously, I'm always here for any type of coaching, leadership, training, things like that. And I'm plugged in with people that do such great.
Oh, you're on LinkedIn, Jeremiah Ramirez.
Jeremiah Ramirez on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Every day he drops gems.
Thank you for reminding me. Isn't this crazy? I can't even remember my own stuff. That's why I have my guys, because I can't even remember my own.
Good.
That's right. Well, hey, we appreciate y'all per the usual. Like, love, share, hit us up, let us know, connect with Rico. If you're not following. If you're not subscribing. If you haven't shared it. Other than that, We'll see you guys next week, and we appreciate y'all.